So I've heard stories like that before, Michelle, where
Yeah.
they're women who they're standing and they're men that are walking past them. There's enough room to walk past, but they don't do that. They squeeze up against the sister, making her uncomfortable. She often is afraid to say anything.
Mhm.
Of course, the shock of something like this happening, sometimes in plain view of everybody else,
Yeah.
it's so uncomfortable. And oftentimes, women, never mind young women, don't know what to say because they're so afraid. They're so shocked. So,
Absolutely. They know exactly what they're doing. They're using their body to be very, very inappropriate, and especially to young women, because, a woman would not expect to have an adult, especially a male adult, to accidentally 3 or 4 times accidentally inappropriately touch them in areas that are off limits.
off limits, accidentally.
Yeah.
So we want to welcome you to this video. My name is Joanna Daniel, the founder of Wounds to Scars. We work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and women who experience abuse. And I'm here with Michelle Peart, my colleague in Wounds to Scars. We talk about safeguarding in the church, what it looks like, and some of the issues that need to be safeguarded. So today we're talking about grooming, predators rather, how to spot
Yeah.
a predator in church. And so we're given an example of some of the things that they do right in plain sight, and people either see it and look away, or people can't see it, and there's a young woman or an adult woman suffering in silence, broken because of what happened. So let's talk about, so that's a boundary. So the first thing that the predator will do is cross boundaries.
Yes.
That's a physical boundary that the predator will cross, and they will do it systematically, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault why they're doing it. So this is how to spot if there's a person that is insisting that they want to be alone with children or vulnerable adults, vulnerable individuals. If there's a person that ignore the rules or the guidelines, we just talk about some rules around personal space.
Mm,
You
mm.
know, if we're in a queue, any man who is aware and self-aware will stand back. They won't come
Yeah.
so close, so they have to brush
Yeah.
against you. Sometimes that's a deliberate thing that they're doing, and if you're uncomfortable with that, you have a right to speak out about how
Yeah.
you're feeling.
For sure. And
Yeah.
and that would include the inappropriate jokes that they would make.
Oh yeah.
You might say, "Oh, you're so small and petite. You don't mind if I stand next to you," or "You're so, or you're a full-bodied woman. I don't, you wouldn't
Hmm.
feel me behind you." Very, very inappropriate
Yeah.
terminology to speak to a young person, and because that young individual will be so shocked. And this happens to males as much as it happens to females
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Oh,
You may
and
have.
for sure, we have to look after our sons as well.
Yes,
But when
absolutely.
when my daughter said, "Mom, I don't like when this person hugged me when I go to
Mm,
church," I said, "You do not have to hug them. Do you want mommy to stand beside you the next time we go? Stick your hand out and shake their
yeah,
hand,
yeah,
or walk past. You didn't have to say good morning and walk. You don't have to do anything like that." So we have to also listen when our children tell us,
mm,
because one of the things that we know that predators do is pay special attention to certain people, the people that
yes.
they're grooming. They pay
And it's
special attention.
usually, yeah, I mean, they watch people, especially
Yeah,
young people. So the individual who may not be that sociable, the individual that may want to sit by themselves sometimes,
yeah,
doesn't talk in the crowd, they will try and draw the attention to that individual, gain their trust, make
yes.
sure, find out who their family members are, tell them, are you comfortable telling your mom and dad that? Would you like me to
Mm,
say it for you? And so
hmm.
you're building that, it's that subtle grooming of building relationships with that young individual. And then
Yeah,
that person will be comfortable. Oh, brother so and so, sister so and so, I can't tell my mom this, but this happened. Oh, don't worry. I'll tell your mom for you. Tell me all about it. In fact, and then later on, they will say, actually, don't tell your mom, just tell me.
yeah,
They might not understand. That
yes.
is that is an integral part of the grooming process,
Trust.
to build the trust with that individual so that they will learn all your secrets, and not just your secrets, but the secrets of your family members. And then should you decide to pull away, they would weaponize that information and
Then use
say,
it against you.
remember, yeah, I don't think you can go to your mom about that because you told me what your mom did. You told me what your dad did, your uncle, your auntie. You wouldn't want me
Yeah.
to you wouldn't want me to tell anybody about it. You need to
Yeah.
only tell me.
Yes. Yes. Trust is an integral part, as you said, of the grooming
Yes.
process. And the special attention that they will give, the special treats that they will give to
Yes.
this one
Oh,
child.
yes.
Sometimes they'll go out of their way. I'll pick you up. I'll take you to choir practice.
Yes.
I'll take you to Pathfinders. I'll take you to the Scouts, to the
Yes.
Brownies. I'll take you to these things. And the family might think, oh wow, this nice person
Yeah. And
is
they'll buy
helping
things.
me. Yes.
Yeah. They
Yes.
may, I've heard of many instances, unfortunately, where adults in the church will say to the child, you could do with a new suit. Go and
Mm.
get me some food. Go in the line and get me some food from the fellowship lunch. Get me some food, and I'll give you £5.
What?
Brothers and sisters, if you think that doesn't
If you,
happen, it does. They will
right.
use whatever they can. They will bribe. They will use
Yeah.
money
Yes.
to the vulnerable child who is in need, and they can see
Yeah.
them in need.
Yes.
They may look
Yes.
slightly unkempt
Disheveled.
sometimes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't judge. We don't know people's circumstances, but these, I want to use the word vultures, because they zoom into that young
Mm.
person,
They can
and
spot vulnerabilities. They can spot
yes,
vulnerabilities.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh man. And also, after they've done that, they'll gradually introduce inappropriate conversations and physical
Yeah.
touch to young people. And here's the thing, Michelle, that's why I say to my children, you do not have to call anybody auntie and uncle at church. Because
Mm,
we give them these privileges. When they start to do the grooming, our
mm,
children are frozen and stuck. And even young people in their 20s will be frozen too, because they don't know now, am I going to be rude if I say
yes,
no to this person?
yes,
I'm only giving you a hug, but you're giving them a hug 3 times that day, or
yes,
you greet them every time they're there, you're there, and your hug is inappropriate because of what you do when you're hugging. And
yes,
because they feel unable to say anything about it, so these people just get to do what they're doing. So
yeah, yeah,
pay attention to children, pay attention to your children, pay attention to everybody's
mm,
child at church is my child.
yeah,
I my eyes are everywhere. Everybody's child is my child, and I'm not only looking out for my children, I'm looking out
mm,
for other people's
mm.
children too. So
If,
let's keep our eyes
yeah,
open.
if I might add as well, Joanna, so there's another controversial issue pertaining to this in terms of the grooming behavior, and that
Mm.
is when I see other children sitting on adults' laps.
Ah,
I,
that is
I,
not
I
their
really
parents.
need to speak to
That is
this
not their
because,
parents.
yes, and it's not your parents. So, I'm of the firm belief in terms of safeguarding that no child under the age of 8 should be
Mm,
sitting on another adult's lap,
mm,
especially a male adult lap.
mm, mm, mm.
Unfortunately, as I often say, you may have heard me say this in many presentations, the church is a public place. It is
Mm-hmm.
a public place. Anybody can come into the church.
Yeah.
And just because they come into the church and we befriend them, as we should in Christ, we should befriend them, make them feel comfortable. But we also have to have spiritual eyesight. We have to have
Absolutely.
discernment. You know, why would you allow a 3 or 4 year old little girl or little boy to sit on the lap of somebody that you've only seen come into the church 3 or 4 times, or even if
Yeah.
they're members of the church? I really do need to stress, I believe it's inappropriate.
It is, Michelle, and that is something that they do. Predators will do over involvement
Yeah,
in ministry so that they can have access to
yes,
children and young
yes,
people and vulnerable adults.
yeah.
So sometimes in churches we're so excited by this new person who come and want to be
Mm,
involved that we give them access.
mm,
That in when we should stand back a little bit and observe and learn about
mm.
character before we make them over involved and give them unprecedented access to our
Yeah.
children and our young people. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Another thing is these people resist accountability,
oh
or,
yes.
yeah, they resist accountability. They will not take responsibility for their actions, and um, they're not accountable to anyone. And so
Yeah.
sometimes even the leader in the ministry or the department of
Mm,
the church, sometimes they're the lead in the department, sometimes they're assisting, but they will somehow have the leader wrapped around their little fingers, so they'll be able to get
mm,
away with the things that they're doing, and so
mm.
nobody is keeping an eye
And
on
that's why it's
them.
important to, for the young person to tell someone that you do trust, and let the adult address the adult. The young person should not have to address the
Yeah.
adult by themselves if it's uncomfortable, because
Mm.
these perpetrators, these groomers, these vulture-like behavior, they will gaslight that
Oh
young
yeah,
person. They will
absolutely.
say, how on earth would you think that I would let you sit on my lap? Or why on earth would I give you any money? Why would I do this? I think your child is, they're being dramatic. They're dramatic. They're playing up. They're
Hmm.
trying to get you in trouble, or they're trying to get me in trouble. So they will internalize it, so that the young child is the problem. And can you
Oh yeah,
imagine what that would cause for that
I
young person?
know. I
First of all,
know.
their truth isn't validated. So they're going to internalize it and think there's something wrong with that individual. And then they'll shut down even more. Or they'll draw closer to that groomer, that
Yes.
gaslighting behavior. Think, I'm really sorry. That's okay. So tell me
Yeah.
more about why you did this. Don't tell anybody else, because what
Yeah.
they want to do is isolate that young person as well. Don't tell anybody else.
Absolutely.
I know you've apologized to me, and don't tell stories. What you
Mm.
thought you saw didn't really happen.
Mm. Mm.
No, I
Mm.
I didn't really rub you
Mm.
somewhere. I
Or
didn't
you
hit
or
you
you liked it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you sure you didn't like it? You
Mm. Mm.
smiled, you
Mm.
laughed when it happened.
Mm.
A lot of young
Yeah.
people have what we call nervous dispositions. So they may
Yeah.
laugh because they don't know what else to do. They don't know how to
Yeah.
react. It's such a shock to them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the groomer knows what that is, and they'll take it and weaponize it again and say, well,
For
when I
sure.
touched you there, you didn't say anything. You laughed,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't tell
Mm.
anybody about it. So it must
Mm-hmm.
be you.
It
There's
must
something wrong
be
with
you.
you. So we really need to have that awareness, and that
Absolutely.
understanding of what that behavior looks like. And when a child tells you, believe the child.
Yes.
Believe the child.
And education, and that's what we're going
Yeah,
to talk about what the church needs to do now. And
yeah.
churches have safeguarding policies.
Hmm.
The safeguarding policies is known by the safeguarding lead and maybe the pastor. Not any other leader often don't know the safeguarding
Mm,
policy. The children don't know the policy either. So
mm,
children often don't have the language
hmm,
to share. And so this is where our trainings are different, is that education, we need to teach children what grooming looks like. We need to
mm.
equip them with the language to share when anything happens. We need to help them to let them know that it's okay to have boundaries, and that they
That's
can
right.
speak up, and that
Yeah.
they can risk offending auntie so and so, and uncle,
Mm,
that they
yeah.
can, it's okay to speak. I give you permission to do that. And we need to build up their confidence so that
Yes.
they can implement those boundaries. So that's the
For
thing.
sure.
I think that's where I see safeguarding policies are very different, because there's no educational element in it.
Yes.
And oftentimes the leadership body as a whole don't know the policy. Maybe one or
Yeah.
two people know. And by the time this person who's been groomed disclose, it might be going on for a year, two
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And the perpetrator has moved on to five other
Mm,
people, you know,
yeah.
making their rounds in your church
Mm,
before you might know anything about it. And we know that
mm.
by the time the disclosure happens, it's going to be a year or two of meetings before
Yes.
anything happen. So education is key. Educating not just leadership, but our young people,
Yeah.
what to look out for, how to spot it, how to speak up and validate their experiences, so
For
that
sure.
they're not blaming themselves,
Yeah.
and leaving God, because sometimes they do leave God afterwards. Because like
Yeah.
if this is
They will.
happening
They
in church,
will.
if this is happening in a church, then
It would be lovely to see these policies implemented or this awareness training implemented in places, when we have our socials, when we
Yeah,
have pathfinders, any interaction with young people. There's nothing wrong with integrating these programs, and it doesn't have to be in a serious or insidious way.
yeah,
It's just to get you so that young people are aware and confident. We want to build the confidence for young people to be able to express or disclose what has happened to them, and for
yeah,
their truth to be validated in an
yeah.
environment where they can feel safeguarded.
Indeed, indeed. And our final point, I want to say, when we speak into leadership, quick
Mm,
responses, please. Not a year
mm,
or two of meetings and then
yes,
meetings and top
yes.
of meetings.
Mm,
Quick responses, so that when people who've been groomed share, that
mhm.
you're acting really quickly, you're taking the allegations serious. I think where I see churches stumble, Michelle, is also, what do we do with the perpetrator? They often don't know what to do
Yes,
with the
yeah,
perpetrator. And so what
yeah.
we're seeing is that the victim have to leave the church, or the
Mm,
victim's family have to go to the church.
mhm,
And by the time they leave, you've created a second wound for these people.
mm,
You've wounded them again with
mm.
with your inaction, with
Yeah,
your lack of responsibility,
yeah.
with your inability to allow other people to be accountable, with
Mm,
you don't like reporting things to the police, because there's something about the police showing up at church that people don't like. Maybe the police need to show up at church and arrest
yes,
and arrest,
absolutely. Be comfortable with it.
and arrest the perpetrator. And so the
Sure,
victim
for
can see
sure.
that you are doing something, that
Yeah,
you are, and vulnerable people will go, I feel safe at this church, because
yes.
they're not going
Something
to
was
let.
done. You heard me. You
Yes.
did something
So
about it. Yeah,
absolutely. So quick responses, and act swiftly and
yes,
decidedly on behalf of victims.
for
Really
sure,
important.
for sure.
Really important. All right. So thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and please share this video with somebody who you think might benefit. When you like the video, more people get to see it, and YouTube recommend our videos to more. So thank you for joining, and see you on the next video.